Hey guys, Kaz here, and today I'm doing a super impromptu unhaul. So, yesterday, you know how sometimes you just decide that you're going to sort out your shelves? Well, that was that day. So, I just pulled loads of stuff off, and I'm getting rid of it. Imagine that. Mostly it was because I needed to dust it because they were bad. And because I had so many stacks like this. This one's fine, I'll talk about that in a second. But so many of my stacks were like this because I had too many books. And you can't pull them out, and then when you do pull them out you just put them on top anywhere because they're a mess. So I decided to sort it out, and when I was sorting it out, like I said, I pulled a bunch of books off. So I'm just gonna give you just like an overview of this first, and then I'll just show you all the books. Most of them I have read because that's the kind of guy I am, but I think there are a few in there that I'm just unhauling unread. So yeah, let me show you this first. So first of all we have this section. This has not changed because these two are my Polar Explorer books. They live there, that's fine. Down here is like mostly fantasy stuff, and look it's all sideways, and I can actually pull the books out. Imagine that. This one is a little bit of a mix of like stuff that I've read and stuff that I haven't read, but not a crazy amount. So like on this shelf I think there's just that one I haven't read and that one. And then that's it, so it's not too bad. Over here I haven't changed this because this was all in alphabetical order anyway, so it's just, there's no way to change it. And then again I haven't changed this bit, so I'm talking a big game, but there's a lot I haven't changed. I do need to sort this shelf out. This is like mostly sci-fi stuff and just Andrew Smith there, just because there's loads of his books and that's where they live at the moment. So yeah, I haven't done this, but this side, look at this, look at all the books. Look at all the books like this, in a way that I can actually get them. Imagine that. So I've also sat this side out, so excluding this one because down here I have put all of my indie books. So I haven't read all of these, but I just put them down there because it's easy to, because they're tall and a weird shape. But other than like this shelf, all of these I have read. So these are my arcs, and I actually put them in order of when I've got them. And then I've read this shelf, and I've read this shelf, and then up to here, which is why there's a stack here, these are all read. And then these are books that are on my TBR, so I've actually put them separate for once in my life, so it's really easy for me to grab them. Like I said, there are some on the other shelf still, but I just like that. I like that I can just see it visually and just grab them off my shelf. And then just nip around here. We've got non-fiction up there that's not polar based. And then this is a bit of a mix. There's like some fantasy and then some middle grade stuff and then some fantasy again. But look at this! Look at this! Look at this whole shelf! Apart from these. But look at this whole shelf that's empty. That's crazy talk. And then this is mostly like Darren Shan and some Rick Riordan. And then there's a manga shelf, and then there's just random Jacqueline Wilson stuff because I still own them. But yeah! Look at this! Okay, now let's get back to the unhaul. Okay, so these are in absolutely no order because I've got them in 2 bags ready to take to the charity shop, so they're just chucked in. But I thought I might as well make a video out of it as well while I'm here. So first of all, we have this stack of Alex Sanchez books. I'll go through them real quick. So I have Boyfriends with Girlfriends, Rainbow High, Rainbow Boys, that's the first one, and Rainbow Road, and then, oh, So Hard to Say, and finally Getting It. I've read all of these, I enjoy them, they're just taking up space and I don't think I'm going to reread them, and I might as well give them to a charity shop and somebody else can find them. Alex Sanchez writes like contemporary gay YA stuff, so yeah, I have kept a few of his books, the ones that I like the most, Bait and The God Box, because I feel like they're more likely for me to reread them, so I've kept them too, but getting rid of these ones. Next up, just because it's on top of the other bag, Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. This is the only Cassandra Clare book I own because I've unhauled all the rest of them ages ago. And I kept this one because I gave it 5 stars and I really enjoyed it. But realistically, is there any point in keeping the first book in a series that got worse and the other 2 books ruined everything that she did in here, and the siblings were great and then she ruined it and did her same old thing again? Like, even if I reread this as a standalone, I'm just going to have the memory of everything she did after this and how much she ruined everything that she did in this book. So, you know, there's no point in having the first book in a series that I'm never going to read again just because it's 5 stars and it's taken up loads of space, but not anymore. So next up I have Peter by Kate Walker. Read it, enjoyed it, not going to reread it. That is just going to be the theme for all of these books really. Same with The Shock of the Fall by Nathan Filler. Really enjoyed it, but not going to reread it. And Last Winter's Snow by Hans M. Hershey. Same again. It's going to be quite a boring video, to be fair. I don't really have much to say. Next up I have Comfort and Joy by Jim Grimsley. This is one of the very few that I actually haven't read, but I've owned it for ages and I just haven't picked it up. I was in like mixed feelings about this one because I do own and have read and will keep Dream Boy, and I've watched the film of that as well. It's really harrowing, and this one seems like it's going to be not as aggressive. I don't know, it says eloquence and humour, but I've had it for ages, I've not picked it up. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm doing it. Sometimes you just have to, don't you? Then I have Saints of Augustine by P.E. Ryan. I enjoyed it, not going to reread it. Imagine me saying that. And then I have the, what's it called again? The Remnant Chronicles. So that is The Kiss of Deception, The Heart of Betrayal, and The Beauty of Darkness. I did enjoy this series, but it's taken up a lot of space. I'm not going to reread it, and it's a full series, so hopefully someone will find it that hasn't read it yet and will also enjoy it. That's one bag down, so let's just say here's where we put the cats, and then I'll be back with all the rest of them. I'm not sure what makes the bath so interesting, but apparently it is. Every time you go in the bathroom, he has to come in. So next up I have In a Cottage in a Wood by Cass Green. If you saw my wrap up of July, you would know that I found this very average and I'm unhauling it. I even said it in that video, it's getting unhauled. Another book I read in July that I'm unhauling, and that is Scarlet by Marissa Meyer. I enjoyed this, I'm just not keeping the series. I've already unhauled Cinder. I got them both really cheap at the works. I'll probably just either pick up the other two in this series from the library or pick it up cheap and then unhaul it again. I just don't feel like I need to own the books because it's not something that I'm gonna like go back to. Next up I have Obard by Kenneth Martin. This is a gay modern classic. It was something that I enjoyed reading. It was something different. I think it came out in the 50s and the author was 16 when he wrote it, so it was like got loads of history and stuff and LGBT and that, but I don't need to own it and somebody else might enjoy it. Similar vibes with Maurice actually by E.M. Forster. I think I enjoyed the film more than the book. The book was fine, it was enjoyable. It was written like 1914, so it's very like old school, and then it wasn't published until the 70s because obviously it was still illegal then to be gay. But yes, somebody else can find this book hopefully and enjoy it. And then I also have Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk. I've read it, I enjoyed it, it was fine, I don't need to keep hold of it. Unicorns and Rainbow Poop by Sam Cadence. This was a book I read maybe last year or the year before. I thought it was fine, I enjoyed it. But it was book 2, but it's one of those series where you don't have to read all the other books. And I don't feel like I care enough to read the other books because they're like the same characters but not a through story, if you know what I mean. Companion books, that's words. But yeah, I don't feel like necessary to read any of the other books or keep this one. And then similar from some of the other ones earlier, The Boys on the Rock by John Fox. This was written in the 80s, I want to say. I might be making that up, but again, it's like one of those yeah, 84. It's one of those sort of more classic LGBT books because they existed even though it was far and few between, so it's good to read them, and I did. Next up I have the Hannibal series. So we have The Silence of the Lambs, Red Dragon and Hannibal. I really enjoyed this series, but they're quite chunky and I don't think I'm going to reread them. I do still own Hannibal Rising because it's on my TBR for this year, and then when I read that I'll just unhaul it as well. I'm very glad that I read these, but I don't need to own them. Next up, the only graphic novel. This is Green Lantern Baptism of Fire. This is just a random volume of Green Lantern that I've owned for many years. So when I first got into graphic novels, comics and stuff, I just used to go on eBay and search graphic novels and then search it from cheapest, and that's how I picked up loads of stuff. It's how I got into them, it's how I found one of my favourite series, so it was a good idea. This was one of those ones and I've just owned it for a long time and never read it. I don't really have any interest in Green Lantern and it's like a random issue. The artwork's not screaming out to me, so I figure there's no point in having it on my TBR. This is another of those very few that I haven't actually read. But sometimes it's good to cull this down a little bit because there's only so much space and it's all in alphabetical order, and it means I can get newer ones. Next up I have Geography Club by Brent Hartinger. I read this ages ago. It was fine. It's a random gay contemporary. And then I also have Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. Again, read it a while ago. I don't feel like I'm ever going to reread it, but I enjoyed it. Most of these books I actually enjoyed. Then we've got Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I really liked this book when it came out. I don't think I'm going to reread it. I don't need to own it. It's quite a chunky one, especially for a contemporary. I really hope those books don't fall. I think they might fall. I'm just going to move some now. Next up I have Aristotle and Dante Dive Into the Waters of the World by Benjamin Elias Sains. I adored the first book in this series. I waited for about 6 years for this, and then it was a pretty disappointing for me. I know other people absolutely loved it, but I didn't. I thought it was very average. And I'm keeping the first book, but I'm getting rid of this one because again, it's chunky. I'm not going to reread it. I didn't particularly enjoy it, so it's going. We're getting towards the end now, guys, don't worry. Another one that I haven't read, so I think that was 3 out of all of these books that are actually coming off my TBR unread, and that is 19 Minutes by Jodi Picoult. So every single time I do an unhaul for the past few years, I always pick this book up and think, but it might be good. But it's massive and I still haven't read it, and it has been a few years that I keep looking at it and thinking, but it's probably really good. But like, it's Jodi Picoult. I feel like that's an author that's really going to be easy to find if I really ever actually feel like reading this book. I'll probably be able to find it at a library or something, or somewhere really cheap. But it's just been sat there and I've not read it, so I need to just accept the fact that just unhaul it, because I've been thinking about it every single time I do an unhaul and always put it back. But this time I thought, no, just let it go. Then we have Everything Beautiful Is Not Ruined by Danielle Young Ullman. Another book I read. I remember enjoying it. I don't need to own it. And then last but not least, this one is The Weight of the Stars by Kay Ancrum. I absolutely adore The Wicker King by Kay Ancrum. 5 stars, absolutely adore it. Amazing, brilliant, lovely, wonderful. This one, when I read it, I was like, I wish I'd loved it as much as the other book, but I didn't. I think I gave it like 3.5 stars. I've been holding on to it just because I love Kay Ancrum's other book. But somebody else can read it, they might find it better than I do. And I'm going to move on to her other books that are written the same way as The Wicker King. She went back to that sort of style of writing, and hopefully I'll love them more than this one. So there we go, those were all the books that I'm randomly unhauling. I will keep hold of them for a bit, so if anybody does see anything they want and want to play P&P, then I am more than happy to send anything out to anybody. But yeah, after like a week or 2, I will just send them onto the charity shop, and hopefully somebody will pick up a nice bargain and find something that they love. So let me know down below any books that you've read here, anything you agree with me with. Not that I really had any big opinions, to be fair. Most of it was like, I enjoyed it, but bye. But yeah, comment down below if you want, like if you want, subscribe if you want, and I will be back with another video very soon.